Situation going from bad to worse in Panama. This afternoon, the two opposition leaders who were convinced they won the presidential elections on Sunday were attacked and beaten up on the streets of Panama City. Guillermo Endara and one of his running mates, Arias Calderon, were apparently being driven away from an opposition rally against the Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega when their car was attacked by men who Endara later described as enforcers for Noriega. Reports from Panama City are that riot police stood by and watched but did not intervene. Endara was hit on the head with an iron bar and required stitches, and when he was released from the hospital later on, the latest reports have it, he was picked up by Panamanian authorities. Endara's running mate, Calderon, was also knocked unconscious, and he was all hospitalized as well, all of which led the White House to stay very much involved in a fluid and very unsettled situation. ABC's Britt Hume is at the White House.
Late in the day, presidential spokesman Marlin Fitzwater read a statement that was the only public White House reaction to the events in Panama.
President Bush condemns the violence now underway in Panama. General Noriega has thwarted the desire of the Panamanian people for democracy by conducting a fraudulent election. He has now escalated this to include violence against opposition leaders, including Mr. Endara. This action underscores that General Noriega does not have the interests of the Panamanian people at heart.
Fitzwater said the president had tried to telephone Endara at the hospital in Panama but could not get through. He said the president had told U.S. Ambassador Arthur Davis to offer his, quote, encouragement to Endara and to, quote, commend him for standing up to the Noriega forces. Pentagon officials confirmed today that U.S. troops in Panama have been ordered to limit their travel to official duties and to stay out of the affected areas. There is obviously little hope here now that Noriega will honor the results of the election, but there is also reluctance to take further steps until it is clear exactly what is happening in Panama. Peter?
Britt, the president appears to have been very cautious on this so far, and yet there's always the talk of U.S. military intervention in Panama. Has this president given the remotest thought to intervening in that way in Panamanian affairs?
Well, he certainly has not ruled out that option, Peter, but there is very great fear here that because of the large U.S. troop presence and the U.S. civilian presence in Panama, that a hostage situation could develop. Indeed, there was a report this afternoon that a couple of U.S. defense attachés had been picked up. Reports are now that they may soon be released, but that's exactly what the administration is worried about, Peter.
People remember the Reagan administration's go around with Noriega, and you used the words hostage. Noriega appeared to hold the Reagan administration hostage. What makes the Bush administration think it could be more effective?
Well, one of the things that President Bush is trying to do is to work in close concert with the other Latin American elected leaders. He mentioned that in the statement Marlin Fitzwater made today, mentioned that. The president mentioned it himself yesterday, and we are led to believe that he is in close and continuing touch with them so that any action that comes out of here will be a joint action with other countries in the hemisphere near Panama.
Okay, Britt Hume, thanks very much. Britt at the White House. So once again, the White House and the opposition in Panama are putting pressure on General Noriega, but as we point out, Panama and the White House have been there before, and it's hard to tell what impact, if any, all of it is having on the Noriega regime. ABC's Peter Collins is in Panama City.
Opposition leaders who say they won the election here confronted the army in the streets of downtown Panama City today. Not one more shot, shouted this vice presidential candidate at an army major as the opposition leaders sought to press their charges of fraud and a slow vote count. Army troops used shotgun blasts over the heads of demonstrators and water cannons to break up the protest march. People watching from balconies waved white flags, the symbol of the opposition. Meanwhile, long after the final results were supposed to be in, the official vote count continued slowly, showing General Noriega's hand-picked candidate, Carlos Duque, to be winning. General Noriega has not yet dared to declare his man the winner because he knows if he does, this country might erupt into open defiance. So the vote counting is being kept deliberately slow while the two sides try for a compromise. There are indications that the opposition, bolstered by international condemnations of the fraud in Panama, are seeking to negotiate with General Noriega and that he is listening.
I foresee definitely some sort of compromise between the two sides because they both have shown popular support.
Since neither the opposition nor the government want U.S. intervention here, such a compromise might be a purely Panamanian solution that over time would permit a face-saving exit for General Noriega.
Our suggestion is to keep your hands off. We don't feel that as much as we don't intervene with the American internal policies, the United States should intervene in our internal policies.
American troops at bases in the former Panama Canal Zone continued to keep a low profile amid reports from Washington that President Bush might send additional forces to Panama. Peter Collins, ABC News, Panama City.
Just one other observation, perhaps an obvious one. Whatever the Bush administration does in Panama will have its effect throughout Latin America. In a moment, the United States and the Soviet Union ready to talk again about nuclear arms. And later in the broadcast, on the American agenda tonight, why do some violent crimes get more attention than others? And nobody told the SEALs they'd have to change their plan.